Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into one of the most confusing and painful situations: silence. When someone who once meant everything to you suddenly stops talking, it leaves you questioning everything. You replay conversations in your head, analyzing every word, every pause, every moment, trying to pinpoint where things went wrong. You wonder if you pushed them away, if you weren't enough, if you should have said something different. The silence makes you second-guess yourself in ways you never imagined. You check your phone, hoping, just maybe, they'll break their silence. A message, a call, some kind of sign that you still matter to them, but nothing comes. And that silence? It's not just quiet, it's deafening. It's the kind of silence that lingers, weighing on your chest, making you question your worth. But I want you to know something before we begin. Their silence is speaking, louder than words ever could. And today we're going to decode exactly why they're choosing not to reach out. Some of these reasons will sting, because the truth often does. Some might bring you clarity, helping you see things as they really are, not as you wish they were. And some will empower you to finally let go, to reclaim your peace, to stop waiting for someone who has already left. Because here's the truth: not everyone who leaves in silence is confused. Sometimes silence is a choice, and sometimes that choice reveals more about them than it does about you. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth," which never harmed anyone. The harm is to persist in one's self-deception and ignorance. Let that sink in for a moment. The harm isn't in being left in silence. The harm is in holding on to false hope, in chasing after someone who has already turned away. So, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments right now. My peace is mine. Now, let's get into it. Number 1. They've found someone else. This one stings the most, but we have to face reality. Sometimes silence happens because they've already moved on. They've found someone new, and instead of facing you with honesty, they choose the easy way out, disappearing without a word. It's not that they don't know what to say, it's that they don't want to say it, because facing you would mean acknowledging the pain they've caused. And let's be real, if they respected you, they wouldn't just vanish. They would have the decency to tell you the truth, but instead they go silent, leaving you to figure it out on your own. That silence? It's avoidance, it's guilt. It's the act of someone who isn't strong enough to face the consequences of their actions. But here's the hard truth: if they've truly moved on, then so should you. Silence isn't an invitation for you to chase them. It's a sign for you to step back. The right person will never replace you so quickly or treat you like you were disposable. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Think about that. If you keep focusing on someone who has already left, you're letting them control your happiness. But the moment you shift your thoughts toward yourself, your healing, your future, you take that power back. So, if their silence is because of someone new, take it as a blessing in disguise. They just revealed who they truly are. Someone who lacked the courage to be honest. Someone who didn't value what you had enough to respect you in the end. And trust me, that kind of person was never meant to stay in your life anyway. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments right now. I choose myself. Because at the end of the day, the only person who deserves your energy is you. Number 2, they're avoiding the guilt. Guilt is a powerful emotion, one that makes people run instead of taking responsibility. When someone knows they've hurt you, whether through lies, betrayal, or abandoning you without explanation, the last thing they want to do is face you. Because facing you means facing themselves. Looking at you would remind them of the damage they caused. It would force them to confront their own shortcomings, their selfishness, their inability to treat you with the respect you deserved. And not everyone has the strength to do that. Some people would rather live in denial than acknowledge their mistakes. So what do? They disappear, they avoid, they act like you never existed. Not because they don't care, but because deep down they do. And that guilt? It eats at them in ways you'll never see. But here's where most people make a mistake. They assume silence means indifference. They think if they really felt bad, they would say something, but that's not always true. Silence is often a sign of emotional cowardice. It's a way to escape responsibility while pretending the problem doesn't exist. Yet, I want you to understand something. Their silence is not your burden to carry. You don't need them to admit they were wrong for you to move forward. You don't need an apology to find peace. Closure isn't something someone else gives you. It's something you choose for yourself. Seneca once said, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." This is your moment to pause, to step back and recognize that their avoidance is their problem, not yours. Instead of waiting for an apology that may never come, focus on yourself. Let their silence be a reminder, not of your worth, but of theirs. Because someone who truly values you doesn't disappear when things get uncomfortable, so don't waste another second wondering if they feel guilty. If they do, that's their battle, not yours. And if they don't, that just proves they were never the kind of person you thought they were. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments right now. I don't need their apology to move on. Because you don't. The only closure you need is the one you give yourself. Number 3, they're scared of repeating the same mistakes. Not all silence comes from selfishness or avoidance. Sometimes people stay silent not because they don't care, but because they're afraid. Afraid of falling back into a cycle that neither of you should repeat. Maybe they recognize that the relationship wasn't healthy, that too much damage was done, or that they couldn't be the person you needed them to be. Maybe they're aware of their flaws, but don't know how to fix them. And instead of trying again and failing, they believe the best choice is to walk away. Quietly. This kind of silence doesn't make them a bad person. It makes them human, because as much as we want people to fight for us, to work things out, not everyone has the emotional tools to do that. Some people know that if they talk to you, they'll be tempted to come back. And deep down, they fear that coming back will only lead to more pain for both of you. It's not an excuse, but it is a reality. Not everyone who leaves is cold-hearted. Some leave because they care. They care enough to recognize that staying would do more harm than good. And while their silence may feel like rejection, in some cases, it's actually an act of restraint. But here's what you need to remember. Even if their choice came from a place of fear or self-awareness, it doesn't change the fact that they made a choice. And that choice was to let go. Whether it was out of love, fear, or uncertainty, the result is the same. You're left in silence. And your job? Respect it. Don't try to pull them back when they've already decided to step away. If they truly believed they were wrong, they would have found a way to fix it. If they truly wanted to try again, they would have found the courage to face their fears. Maya Angelou once said, "When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time." If someone chooses to stay silent rather than work through things with you, believe them. Don't wait for them to change their mind. Don't hold on to the hope that one day they'll realize they made a mistake. Because if they ever do, they'll have to be the one to break the silence. So, if their silence is because they fear repeating old mistakes, let them go. They're doing what they believe is right. Now, it's your turn to do what's right for you. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments right now. I accept what is and move forward. Because your future is not behind you, it's ahead. And the sooner you accept their silence, the sooner you can embrace what comes next. Number 4, they want to see if you'll beg. This is the coldest, most manipulative reason of them all. Some people don't stay silent because they're confused, hurt, or moving on. They do it as a test, a game, a way to see if you'll crack under the weight of uncertainty and chase after them. They want to know if you'll reach out first, if you'll send that desperate text, if you'll double or triple message them, trying to figure out what went wrong. They want proof that they still have control over your emotions, that you're still attached, that they still matter to you. It's a power move, and for people like this, it's not about love. It's about ego. The more you react, the more satisfied they feel. Because in their mind, if you're the one trying to fix things, then they're the one who holds the upper hand. They may ignore you completely or throw breadcrumbs your way, just enough to keep you hooked, but never enough to give you real answers. Maybe they watch your stories but don't text back. Maybe they leave your messages on read, making you wonder what they're thinking. Maybe they disappear, only to randomly pop up just to see if you're still there, waiting for them. But here's the truth. You are not someone's emotional puppet. You are not here to play a game where the rules are designed to keep you stuck in confusion and self-doubt. If someone is silent, just to see if you'll break first, the best thing you can do is refuse to give them what they want. Because the moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop reacting, the power shifts. Suddenly they're the ones wondering, why haven't you texted? Why haven't you tried harder? Are you really moving on? And that's when reality hits them. The attention they thought was guaranteed is no longer there. The emotional control they once had, it's slipping away, and the person they expected to beg, they're not begging at all. That's the only way to win this game, by refusing to play it, by showing them that silence doesn't break you, that their absence doesn't make you desperate, that you don't need to prove your worth to someone who's too immature to communicate like an adult. Because in the end, real connections aren't built on tests or power struggles. They're built on honesty, effort, and mutual respect. And anyone who uses silence to manipulate your emotions is showing you exactly what kind of person they are. So let them wonder, let them question, let them realize, too late, that they underestimated you. Number 5, they're using silence to protect themselves. Not all silence is meant to be cruel. Sometimes it's not about manipulation, punishment, or indifference. It's about self-preservation. For some, talking to you again means reopening wounds that haven't fully healed. Maybe they still have feelings for you, but know deep down that reconnecting would only make moving on harder. Maybe every conversation reminds them of the pain, the arguments, or the disappointment that led to the breakup. Maybe they're still trying to process everything, and they don't have the emotional capacity to explain it to you just yet. In these cases, silence isn't about control, it's about survival. They step back not because they don't care, but because staying in contact would only bring more emotional chaos. They're trying to find clarity, to heal in their own way, and sometimes that means cutting off communication, even if it hurts both of you. This kind of silence can feel unfair. It leaves you with unanswered questions, wondering what's going on inside their head. You might think, if they still care, why can't they just say something? But emotions don't work in straight lines. Some people need distance to make sense of their own feelings before they can face you again, or before they can truly let go. It's important to recognize that their silence isn't necessarily a reflection of your worth. It's not always about punishing you or ignoring you. It's about what they need to do for themselves at this moment. And that's something you have to respect, even if it's painful. Instead of chasing answers they aren't ready to give, focus on what you can control. Give them the space they need, but don't wait around hoping they'll come back when they're ready. Their healing process is theirs alone, just as yours is yours. If they truly value you, if there's still room for connection in the future, they'll find their way back when the time is right. But until then, the best thing you can do is respect their silence, not as rejection, but as a choice they've made for their own emotional well-being. Number 6, they're too selfish to consider your feelings. Let's face it, some people are just selfish. They don't think about how their actions affect others. They don't care about the confusion or pain they leave behind. And instead of giving you the respect of a proper conversation, they simply vanish. Why? Because it's easier for them. They don't want to deal with difficult emotions. They don't want to take responsibility for their actions. They're too focused on their own happiness, their own plans, and their own needs to even consider how their silence affects you. It's not that they don't know they're hurting you. They do. They just don't care enough to do anything about it. And that's the hard truth. You might spend hours wondering what went wrong, replaying past conversations, looking for signs. But while you're stuck in that emotional loop, they've already moved on without looking back. That's the kind of person you're dealing with. Someone who prioritizes their comfort over your closure. And here's what you need to understand. Do you really want someone like that in your life? Do you want to keep waiting for a person who couldn't even give you the courtesy of a goodbye? The silence itself is an answer. It tells you everything you need to know about their character. Someone who truly valued you would have the decency to be honest. They wouldn't leave you hanging, wondering what happened. So, instead of chasing someone who doesn't respect your emotions, take their silence as a sign to move forward. Don't waste your time trying to get answers from someone who was never willing to give them. If they can walk away so easily, let them. You deserve people in your life who communicate, who care, and who don't disappear the moment things get complicated. Number 7, they're just done with relationships. Sometimes silence isn't personal. It's a sign that they've checked out of relationships altogether. They're not ghosting you to be cruel, nor are they waiting for you to chase them. They've simply reached a point where they don't want to invest in love, commitment, or emotional connections anymore. Why? Because life happens. Maybe they've been burned by past relationships and don't want to risk getting hurt again. Maybe they're carrying emotional baggage that makes them withdraw. Or maybe they've simply realized that they're happier alone. In some cases, people retreat from relationships because they feel overwhelmed. They might be struggling with personal issues, career stress, family problems, or their own mental health. When that happens, they shut down emotionally, not just from you, but from everyone. They stop communicating, not because they don't care, but because they don't have the emotional capacity to handle a relationship right now. And here's what you need to remember. This is not about you. Their silence doesn't mean you weren't good enough, or that you did something wrong. It simply means they're on their own path, and that path doesn't include a relationship at this moment. That's why you shouldn't waste time trying to change their mind. You can't make someone ready for love if they've already decided to step away from it. You can't convince them to stay when they've chosen to leave. What you can do, though, is accept their choice and move forward. Respect their silence, not as a rejection, but as a clear sign that they are not the right person for you right now. You deserve someone who is present, emotionally available, and willing to give as much as they take. So instead of waiting for them to come back, use this time to focus on yourself. Build your confidence. Strengthen your independence. Because when the right person comes along, you won't have to question their silence. You'll have their full attention, their effort, and their love. So there you have it. 7 reasons why they are silent. Some reasons are painful, some are selfish, and some are just about them trying to protect themselves. But no matter what the reason is, their silence is an answer. You deserve someone who chooses to communicate, someone who respects your feelings, someone who doesn't make you question your worth. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever dealt with someone's silence? How did you handle it? Drop a comment below and let's talk about it. And if this video helped you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, take care and remember, you are enough.